Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good in our community, and also too talking about empowerment, artistry, photography, creativity, and entrepreneurship. We are joined by two lovely ladies. We have Kristen and Lindsey Archer, the co-founders of Arched, and we'll talk all about project stories that they're working on as well to celebrate women entrepreneurs and tag team duos working together to make a difference. But let's start out. Lindsey, Kristen, how are you two doing?
We are good. Excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
So your story being sisters starts obviously here in Memphis. Give us a little bit of just your backstory growing up here in Memphis, being sisters. Talk about just your childhood a little bit.
Cool. Well, I'm the older one. People always ask, who's older, who's younger. And so we grew up in Bartlett, Tennessee with our parents and our brother. And we stayed here, obviously growing up. And then I went to college at MTSU in Nashville, and Lindsey went to Mississippi State. And after that, we came back to Memphis, or I stayed in Nashville for a little bit. Lindsey came back to Memphis, and then we moved in together, in 2011-ish?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the business started. We started out of our home, and we kind of grew it on the side for 8 years after that.
Yeah, our first venture into selling our art would be at Cooper Young Festival. So local here in Memphis. We started with the biggest festival I think you could possibly start with. So we just dove right in. And like Kristen said, it was kind of on the side for those first couple of years. And then in 2019 in August, we went full time.
Yeah.
So at what point, because I know you two were kind of running parallel tracks, but two different businesses really. And then you said, hey, let's come together and actually combine this. Where did each other's creativity and focus on kind of the artistry of it? Where did that come in, and how did that kind of blossom together?
Yeah. So my background is photography and video. So I, by trade for that first, I would say 15 years of my career, video production, so video editing, shooting stories, documentary type style videos, and then also photography. I've loved photography since I was little. We used to dress up and put ugly pink satin backdrops in our house and take horrible modeling photos in middle school and elementary school. So always loved photography. But so the first time we did Cooper Young, we had separate businesses. So and that was kind of a hodgepodge. It didn't really look like everything that we do today. But so I was putting my photography of Memphis and some other stylized shots on canvases, and Lindsey actually was doing paintings. And so it was just a big mess of no aesthetic.
No cohesion, nothing that we would probably sell today.
Yeah. And so looking back at those pictures, we're like, ah. But everybody has to start somewhere. And so after that first festival, we decided that it would be a better idea to team together. And then we slowly through the years started paring down what we were doing. And, based on feedback of what products we had in stores, what people wanted, and then what also inspired us.
And I would say working together, we found each other's strengths. So my background was graphic design. Like I said, hers is photography. And not only that, but in production, I was better at the sanding and the cutting. She was better at transferring images to the wood. So that kind of, once we banded together and formed Arch, it was much easier to go through the whole production process. We each had our specific strengths that we could work on.
So how do you describe Arched now in terms of what you do? Because it is photography, it's artistry, it's woodworking. I mean, it's a lot of things kind of coming together to create beauty. So how do you describe Arched?
I would describe it as we are co-owned by women, two sisters, and we create handmade home decor using my design and her photography.
Yeah. So it's all kind of a mixture. We have some pieces that just have photography, some that just have Lindsey's illustrations, some that we figured out how to take photos, and then Lindsey, edits them and puts them into a state design. So it's there's different pieces that feature different aspects of our talents, I guess.
And then because we have that background in design and photography, we kind of do our own creative in-house as well. So she does all our product photography, videos we use for social media. I do all of our design work, graphics, or anything like that. So we can kind of do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the underlying theme of empowering women and celebrating cities.
So I would say the cities kind of stemmed first from, we love to travel. Obviously, we haven't done as much of that in the past couple of years, but anywhere we went, Kristen would take photography. And so we kind of started using those to make art out of. And then from there, we grew into, we did our retro city skyline designs. Anywhere Kristen would go and take photography, I would then design a skyline graphic for that city, so we could have a little bit of both. And then for the feminist art, the first feminist illustration we did was Ruth Bader Ginsburg's collars, her dissent collars that she wears. And we actually sent that to her, a package that had coasters, wood art. Is it just coasters?
Yeah, I think it's coasters and wood art.
And then we got, about a week later, she wrote us a handwritten note back. And so we came home. It was our first full day of Arch full time in 2019. And we opened the mailbox and had a letter from the Supreme Court. So that was very inspirational. And I think that just seeing how she took the time to handwrite a letter to people that had shown her that we were fans of hers, fans of her work, really inspired us. And that kind of inspired the rest of our feminist collection. And so we started looking for other women like RBG who shared our values and started illustrating them.
Yeah. And I would add to the cities, you know, we love Memphis so much. We obviously have a business here. We grew up here. We have friends and family here. And another part, the whole celebrate cities thing is the beginning of our line started out celebrating Memphis. And so as we went to other places, you know, you recognize that the people that live there or move to or from there typically want to celebrate their city or enjoy celebrating their city. And so we wanted to create art that allowed them to gift it to people who were moving there or moving away, or a little token of, you know, where they used to live or where they're going.
Absolutely. And the holidays are right around the corner. So when you talk about gifting, it's the perfect gifting season.
Yes.
You mentioned the fact growing up together, there's a trust, right? So you trust each other, you understand strengths and weaknesses. There's a certain amount of grace and forgiveness, which sometimes, you know, being a family of entrepreneurs can be tough. And so being an entrepreneur in general is tough. Mm-hmm. Talk about being sisters and the glue that really, one, keeps the company together, but two, becomes the fuel for the fire to really do more and achieve more, being sisters. So talk about some of the special moments of being sisters who are entrepreneurs in this together.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is we're not afraid. A lot of times in corporate settings or other settings, you might hold yourself back from shouting out an idea, or, you know, there's people that you may not trust or just haven't gotten to know. And growing up, like, there's literally no idea, even, or no matter how ridiculous it is, that I wouldn't be like, hey, Lindsey, let's try this. And, you know, she may be like, well, that's not the best idea, and vice versa. But I think that willingness to listen to any idea that we have and not being scared to share the ideas puts us in a position where we're able to, you know, think beyond where we are now. And I'm trying to think how to say this.
I think growing up together, being sisters, being family, we have a closeness. We trust each other implicitly. So she can give me feedback, and I know that she's giving me honest feedback that's going to help our business. So I'm not going to take something personally. I know she's not dogging my skills or anything. If she has feedback, it's just going to make our stuff better. And we can give feedback to each other because of that base level of trust and that relationship that we have.
And also knowing when to push each other. So, you know, every once in a while you may be like working on a project and like, I'm so sick of working on this project, I just want it to be over. But it's like, no, you know, you can do better than that. Like that's not your best work. Try again. You know, like I've seen you do better. I know you can do better. And I think, you know, even though at first when we get that feedback, we may be like, oh, but we know where it's coming from, a place of, you know, wanting to see us do better, each other do better.
For each one of you, what's something that you've learned from each other?
Lindsay is very detail oriented in terms of, for instance, the other day I was working on a video project, and the last screen I was putting the business's name and address and like where to shop in person. And this was the second in a series of 5 videos. So the first one I had already finished. The second one, there was like 2 words that were like sentence case instead of all caps. And in the first one, it was all caps. And she was like, immediately looked at it, was like, no, that's not right. And so it's like that. She's taught me to look, I mean, I didn't obviously look at that specific one, but she's taught me to pay more attention to the minor details that, while most people may not notice, it does make a difference to make a project look cohesive.
Absolutely.
And I would say the opposite of that for her. And I think that's one reason why we work so well together is I am in the details. Kristen is bigger picture. And so sometimes I will get bogged down in the details of things that don't really matter. And so she's kind of helped me step back and know when to like let go and know when to time to move on from that project.
But I think that's a good lesson for entrepreneurs too, is when you talk about even, just any level of entrepreneurship, you need a team around you who complements you and who can push you, but also too can give you some of that grace and that flexibility and say, you're being too hard on yourself. Let go of this, or, focus more broadly on this versus narrow on this. And so I think to your point, yin and yang, being a team, a unit, you complement each other and you bring out the best. And you allow each other to succeed based on your strengths and complement in the weaknesses too. So I think that's a really cool, just dynamic duo on your end. And when you talk about celebrating dynamic duos and empowering women and entrepreneurship, you've got project stories that you've launched. And so talk about this project stories, really elevating other women.
Yeah. So one of the first questions we get when we meet new people in a creative setting or really anywhere is, oh my gosh, I could never work with my sister. I could never work with my brother. Like, how do you work with your sister? And so people are always curious about the partnership, I think even more than the art itself. And so a lot of my background in video production work is interviewing other women and telling their stories. And so we've wanted for a couple of years to launch this project called Project Stories. And we were trying to figure out a specific angle. And so the first one that we wanted to use was other women duos. And so we wanted to look for other women in Memphis because we're here and we could easily film that a duo that owned a business, ran a business together, but also offered a physical product so we could launch it leading up to Small Business Saturday. And so that's a very specific, when we put it on our Instagram stories and we're like, this is what we're looking for. People are like, that's really specific. We're like, that's what we wanted. And so we found some of the duos we already knew, some of them we had met once but didn't know that well. And so, yeah, we reached out. Everybody was really excited. We went and interviewed everybody. It was really cool to see that in each duo, while obviously they're all unique, there's always, this is the one that does this, or this is the one who has this strength. This is the one that has this strength, in how they complement each other. And it makes sense because that's, how we've been successful, is we work together and have different strengths and weaknesses. And so that theme kind of ran across the whole project. And it was just really interesting to hear their stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think also too, on your end, it's one, elevating their story and raising awareness for other organizations, other businesses, but at the same time, you're creating kind of a support group for each other too, that is a cool community, so to speak, of creatives.
Right.
I'd say here in Memphis, that's been one of the biggest things that we've been able to lean on in starting our business, is the creative community here in Memphis. We have met so many other business owners who are so willing to provide feedback, provide guidance, help write a business plan, and just be able to talk through issues, talk through problems, talk through joys and, the good things as well. And having that network really makes running a business easier. And so just being able to expand our network with these other women duos who have such a similar relationship. They're not sisters, but they're 2 women who co-own, co-founded, and co-run a business selling a product. So being able to connect with women like that and just expand, like I said, expand our network. It was really enjoyable. Yeah.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs, especially for those who are looking at a family opportunity. And I'm thinking, for Memphis, you have the ones that you're highlighting, but you have, companies like Sweet Bio, where it's a brother and a sister tag team duo. So there are quite a few, is my point, of whether they're siblings or cousins or family units that are coming together as entrepreneurs to be able to do something special. What advice would you give them?
I would say be willing to give each other space to grow and also have their stake in the business. So, Lindsey has a specific, her illustrations have gone really, really well. They're probably, I would say, our most popular product are her feminist illustrations. And then this project stories was something that I really wanted to work on. And it was a passion project. And I think we both give each other the space and the permission, if you will, to work on things that we really feel personally that we want to work on. And I think that's allowing each other to do that and not just saying, no, we have to do this, and like staying in a strict schedule. I think that's helped us a lot. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
No, I agree.
I think something else that we've done.
What she said.
This may not be specifically to family owned, but something that we've tried from the beginning to do is realize the areas that we're not good at. Yes. So we're not good at taxes. We're not good at the legalese of copyright and trademark and things like that. And so a little at a time, as we grew, we invested money in having other people who were experts do those things for us. So we wouldn't end up spending, Lord knows how much money later
doing it wrong.
And so I think we made it a point from the beginning. Maybe that was because we were scared at the beginning we weren't going to do it right. But I think that's been something that, and not everything, you can't outsource everything, but to figure out the things that you just cannot stand doing and have other people help you that are experts.
Yeah, that's great advice. Wrap up with contact information. So where do we go to learn more about Arched and to see obviously all the artwork and the home decor and everything that you're doing? So website, social media, and then also to follow project stories. So where do we go?
So for our website, it's getarched.com, and that's getarchd.com. And all of our social media is the same, Get Arched. And project stories is getarched.com/project stories.
And Arched, as you can see right here, does not have an E in it. So ARCHD.
Well, it's obviously it's a creative twist on the name Archer and everything else that you're doing too. So I think it's you got to have some creativity even in the name for what you do. So I love it. Well, Kristen, Lindsey, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for not only sharing your story, but obviously too celebrating and lifting up others as well. So thank you for everything you're doing and for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.